I was waiting for that. Made it all weird.
I didn't make it
What's
weird.
up, everybody? You're always weird.
Shut up.
Oh, I got the wrong hat on. My Red Bull hat's upstairs. I'm a mess.
You can't wear your Red Bull hat. You got a Derby Day loss.
Quiet down, you. Everybody, welcome to episode, what are we, 36 now? The Designated Players Podcast in Season 3. So what we're up to? I don't even know.
Yes, 36.
36. You guys have absolutely been murdering the views so far. John Bush is still climbing. Last episode is still going well. We keep sharing links. Make sure you keep subscribing to us wherever you are, because we have got some great stuff coming for you. Today, just rounding up a little bit more transfer news, giving our thoughts on some of the moves that are rumored, as well as giving some insight onto new look Columbus Crew and DC United. Before we do any of that, of course, we do Scarf of the Week. I don't really want to ask you because I know what you have, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What are you rocking?
I am doing this for you, Matthew. And if you are not listening, this will be the telltale sign. I've brought out the NYCFC scarf for us talking about Taty, and as well for the nice Derby Day win over the weekend.
Are you done?
Yep.
I went to the Derby. Chris Penso, you think I'm bad on stream yelling at referees by their first name? I'm pretty sure the people around me thought I was absolutely insane.
Chris, that's because you are absolutely insane.
Fair, totally fair. Chris had a nightmare, absolute nightmare of a day. It's zero hesitation. He gave out a yellow card to Sean Nealis because he got in his face after he clearly didn't play a good advantage. Red Bull had dinked the ball in over the top. We were in on goal, and he calls it back for a foul in our own half.
Here we go already.
Nightmare.
We are 2 minutes in, and he's already ranting about Red Bull.
Watch it back.
I will not watch it back. I will certainly not watch it back.
It took way too long to get there. It took way too long to get home. But I got a free scarf out of it, so it's okay. Is it upside down? Damn it.
It's still upside down.
Still upside down.
You're awful. It's a cool scarf, but it is a scarf of losers this last weekend.
Little New York is red, and then
not this weekend.
And then Red Bull's on the side. It's one of those like silk type of $3 scarves you'd find, but
I still think the design's cool. It's like a little graffiti thing.
Yeah, free scarf is a free scarf. I'm never turning one of those down.
Yeah, of course. All right, shall we dive into it?
Yeah, why not? So we could dive into it, or we've got, how much time do we have left in the month?
Like
we got
6
hours of content. I could spend at least 3 talking to you about the Derby if you want.
Oh God. Hold on. Let me put up safety first counter, and then you can go ahead. I'll be back in 3 hours.
To save our listeners from the complete nightmare.
Forget the listeners, man. Save me. I don't want to do that.
I don't care about you. Let's talk about one, Taty Castellanos scoring the goal against Red Bull. I will give him all the credit in the world. It was a really nice peel off the backside. Service was good. Sean Nealis lost his mark. They scored. As soon as that came out, you could see him. He's walking around, and it was really interesting watching him come off the field. You felt something different. You felt like this wasn't the end of a game or even the end of a derby. It felt different. And then about 24 hours later, the news comes out that City Football Group purchased his contract to loan him out to Girona in Spain. So lots of times we've talked about whether he is worth that much money or not, right? Everybody's saying 20 mil. I watched him firsthand. And I watched specifically outside of the goal, what was he doing? Taty Castellanos is now a 20 mil striker. I promise you that. Yes, he scored the goal. He had a few, once Red Bull lost their press, he had a few decent link-up plays. But 95% of the time, he was going one-on-one with Sean Nealis, Aaron Long, anybody bigger and stronger than him. He couldn't hold up the ball. He couldn't get in behind, and he would dive and roll around like it was a pool. He wasn't a 20 mil striker. And I think Tommy Scoops made some comment, which I completely agree with. The only person or the only team that, or the only entity that was going to pay City Football Group $20 million for Taty Castellanos was City Football Group themselves. So they just bought him and loaned him out somewhere else. They wrote down the accounting transaction, whatever. What are your thoughts on where he's going, how he'll do, and maybe the price isn't confirmed yet, but what do you think they probably would have gotten for him? What would the contract be worth?
Am I guessing like what I think he should have gone for, or what I think City paid for him?
Yes.
I think City probably paid, I would think like a decent amount. I mean, if I were City, I would just find out what team is bidding the highest and then just match it, and you're going to get it. Like, obviously, in that case, City's going to be like, hey, NYC, you're giving him to us. You're not giving him to that other team. So I would think City maybe paid around 15 million is my guess. And I think it's like probably somewhat around where I would have him go for. I'd say somewhere between like 10 and 15 million, depending on form. I certainly don't think he's 20 million worth, but I feel like that's what you got to do if you're an MLS team. Like Miguel Almiron, as much as I love him, hasn't really lived up to the price tag at Newcastle, but Atlanta were able to convince them that he was that price tag worth of a player. So like, I think that was NYC's goal with saying Taty's worth 20 million. We think he's a $20 million striker. That's how much we think he's worth. So we're going to try to convince other teams that that's how much he's worth. I don't think that he is worth that much. And I think other teams kind of saw that, or maybe it's just their lack of knowledge of the league and they didn't honestly believe that he was worth that much. But if they had gotten a bid, if he was actually worth 20 million, he'd be gone by now because they would have gotten a bid for it and they would have accepted it. So clearly he's, other teams around the world are not valuing him at that much. But I think somewhere between like a 10 to 15 range is fair. I think City probably paid around 15, maybe a little bit higher. I'm not totally sure though.
Palmeiras offered 12.5 million back in December. And it got turned down because they wanted 15. So I'd have to assume that's probably where he's at. And really what's less important to me is not the transfer fee, but the sell-on fee, right? Tyler Adams was bought for 3 million, something like that, but we got 33% sell-on, or 5 million with 33% sell-on. So when he got sold to Leeds, Red Bull retained $8 million of that transfer. Now we're not going to do anything with it because we're Red Bull, but that's what's more important to me, because Taty is probably going to get sold on for a profit, and with the way that the system's going and the football market is, quite clearly he will go for more than whatever they got him for. So how much is going to come back after that sale is the more important one for me. I like the move to, well, I like the rephrase. I enjoy the fact that he will end up in Spain. I know he's going to be part of City Football Group, and just like Mix Discovery being the prime example for any link to a European team possible.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to bring that up again.
Stop it. He will never step foot on a field for New York City, ever, not once.
You mean Man City?
Man City Light, whatever. They're all the same. I think he will do a lot better in Spain than he would in other systems. I think he's fit for that game.
Yeah, agreed.
The dude can play, right? And we've seen that. I just saw a stat here: 50 goals, 19 assists in 108 games. Dude can score. Dude knows how to get it done. Are 25 of those penalties? Maybe. I don't know. I don't have the exact number, but most of them are. I'm just kidding. Now I'm being salty.
Yes, you are.
Listen, the dude will do well. He will never step foot on a pitch in England. unless they're playing like a Europa League game over there. But he stays within the system. NYC gets some sort of sell-on fee.
Yeah, they did it the Red Bull way, honestly.
They did it the Red Bull way, which is the way it should be done. We had this conversation a month ago, right? That's the way it should be done. If you have these links, utilize them. They should be bringing players in. They're not. That's the negative of it. But the positive is you get to sell these players on for whatever you think they're worth, get a massive sell-on fee because it's just an accounting, ledger line, right? And then you get massive money out of it. That's the way it should be done. That's why Man City has done such a good job with them, is because they are allowing that to happen. I don't know what they got out of Jack Harrison, but it's the same deal, right? That transfer is massive.
You know what's another reason I think this is a good move for him? This is a team that's just getting promoted to the top tier in Spain. So he should 100% come in and at least be in the conversation for starting. I don't know the team well enough to say that he should be starting for sure, but I know he's certainly good enough that he should be at least in the conversation to be a starter. I would think they bring him in to start, personally. That's just my guess. But I mean, that would be great if you can come in and get consistent starting time in a top tier league straight out of MLS. That's awesome. Granted, that's only happening because he's in Citigroup. He's not necessarily guaranteed this if he doesn't go to Citigroup, but I still think it's a good move for him. He should get good game time in a really competitive league. In, like you said, a league that I think he would do really well in. I feel like he suits this league best out of any of the top 5 leagues.
Correct. I'm looking right now to find.
When you're done, I'm ready to make you mad again.
I don't need this nonsense
No,
right now.
It's gonna happen. I get it. I gotta bring it up.
So there is only one way that we can truly analyze how he would fit, and that is through FIFA, of course. So their best player, according to FIFA, is Christian Stuani, who is a Uruguayan striker. They've got an Argentinian in Bustos, Spanish in Moreno, and those are their attacking 3. And if you look at Taty Castellanos, Taty is rated 7, so he would be the 3rd best striker on the list right now. And as you know, FIFA is perfect for that. But of the very little that I've watched of the La Liga, because people love to say the MLS, I'm going to say the La Liga. His play style is strong, it's physical, it's direct, it fits that system, right? So I think he will do perfectly fine there. I have no hesitation on his ability to succeed there. I think it's a great move. And get him out of MLS. He doesn't need to terrorize my team anymore. Great.
I'm gonna ask you because I know you know some Spanish, right?
Un poquito.
What? What is? Can you translate for me La Liga?
The league.
So then, why do you feel the need to add the in front of it?
Why do people need to add the to MLS?
If it was called that's like if it was called the MLS and you added another the, you would say the MLS, but you instead said the league.
Nope. This is how it's happening. You're gonna deal with it. You're gonna accept.
You're so dumb.
You're gonna accept it. I don't make the rules. I just do.
All right, it's time to upset you some more because I have a question for you.
Your questions are not valid.
My question for you is, do you, if NYC did not have the Man City connection, do you foresee this transfer having issues similar to Kyle Larin, or I guess maybe DK, where NYC sets too high of an asking price and nobody can match it? So then Taty gets stuck in MLS and ultimately gets sold for a much cheaper price than what was originally, I guess, bid for. Do you think City kind of just bailed them out on their valuation?
I think City bailed themselves out of their valuation because that's what they probably went in and said. That's really what I think.
Well, we don't know that for sure, so we can only assume as of right now that NYC set that valuation. You're probably right that Man City had at least some say in it, but as of right now, I would
having Man City there to bail themselves out of the bad business that they're doing, like they always do, helped. Correct.
Okay, I'll leave it there. That's all I wanted to ask.
What do you want to say? No, that he would have gotten out anyway.
I just don't think he doesn't make this move right now if he doesn't have Man City as a parent team.
Correct. And I've never disagreed with you saying that players that link is a bad thing. That link is a good thing because of this exact reason. But Mix Diskerud is not.
He's the perfect example.
No, it isn't. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
All right, yeah, let's. We've had this argument. We've had this argument enough.
So Taty Castellanos is the perfect example, right? A guy who has the ability, but they wanted more than they could have gotten for him. So now they use the link to get him more exposure. That is the example that we need. Mix Diskerud showing up one day being like, hello, all good players that I'll never get to play with, then getting shipped out to Sweden is not the answer. That is not what we're looking for.
You're looking at it from a fan perspective, from a fan of like the league or even just like NYC. Like, yeah, Taty is the perfect example because you want to see them like develop players and move them on. But if you're a player and you see someone of like a skill level that you're like, okay, I know that I'm better than this person, and you see that person go and get a move to Europe, like from this team because of the link that they had, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going there because they're going to get me a move to Europe because this guy could do it. And I know I'm better than this guy. I'm not even now. I'm just making it sound like, oh my God, I'm blanking. Who are we talking about? Mixed. Now I'm just sound like
you're just running yourself.
I'm just slandering Mixed Diskerud at this point, but like, I'm just saying like, if you're like some young South American player and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get a move to Europe from MLS, and then you go and see Mixed Diskerud got a move from NYC to Europe because of the link of that team, I'd be like, all right, let's go to that team. I can guarantee myself a link to Europe. Anyway, we've had this conversation enough.
We've done this before. We've been there.
Let's just move on.
Let's move on. We've got a new look Columbus Crew with maybe the best striker other than Josef, maybe the best striker in his first, month of games that we've seen ever.
Why are we putting a label on that? It's been like 3 games.
Yeah, it's been 3 games and he's an animal.
Yeah, it's been 3 games. Taxi Fontas was like that good in 3 games.
Okay, Taxi Fontas was really good too. He was all right. Listen, Taxi Fontas wasn't as so good that they had to kick other people out. Cucho Hernandez came in.
I mean, he kind of was.
They shipped Miguel Berry out the door.
He kind of was. The DC just hasn't shipped them out, but does Ola Kamara even get game time anymore?
That's not the question. That's not the question.
You were talking about him coming in and knocking people out.
I was not. That is fake news.
I'm going to go, while you keep rambling on, I'm going to go look at Taxi's first couple starts for DC.
That's fine. Cucho Hernandez goes into Columbus and absolutely lights up the league. I'm watching some of his highlights here, and everybody's saying it. We said it before he even stepped on the field. This is like Josef Martinez's twin. This dude is unbelievable.
Well, everybody's not saying that. I'm not saying that. There's only one Josef Martinez.
Quiet down. 4 goals in his first 90 minutes of game time. 90 minutes. He had a goal, both of his sub appearances, and then 2 in the first half. Or excuse me, let me rephrase that. He had 3 goals in 2 bench appearances and then scored in the first half of his 3rd game. 90 minutes, he's already got 4 goals. That's out of this world good.
I mean,
he's a game changer.
Not to drink the haterade, but like, look who he was playing against: Chicago, DC, Cincy.
Okay, so the teams that play against Chicago, DC, Cincy, and can't actually do anything.
What about the team? What?
You're talking about, so I hate when people are just like, oh, look at who they're playing. This is what's supposed to happen when they do that, right? This is what's supposed to happen.
Sure, but you're already comparing him to Yosef, who's like one of the best strikers in this league's history. He played 3 bad teams at the start. Listen, I'm just trying to be annoying and rile you up. Like I'm totally on board the Cucho hype train. Like he's blown up, but I'm just here to try to piss you off.
Yeah, and you are definitely a hater. Like I get it. I'm gonna look here to see what Yosef's first involvements were.
Taxi didn't have the goals per minute, but in Taxi's first 4 games, he had 32 minutes, 60 minutes, 78 minutes, 77 minutes, 4 goals, 1 assist. So not exactly on the level of Cucho, but at least Taxi was playing some decent teams.
To be fair to Yosef had five goals in 2 games. So
yeah, well, I think he had a hat trick his second game against
who?
Minnesota.
Yeah, so why would we ever freak out about Josef Martinez? And then who did he get his second?
I wasn't freaking out about him. 3 games in, being like, let me compare him to Chris Wondolowski because he's so good.
Quiet. He had a hat trick against Minnesota. He had a brace against 2017 Chicago. Okay, so 2 teams that we look at and we're like, oh wow, we can't think of anything. And he turned into the best striker in the league. 2017
Chicago finished 3rd in the Eastern Conference.
Correct, but at that point they were terrible because they were early. They were early season Chicago. They were
first of all, I was not saying anything about Josef.
No. I'm not saying you were. My point is, you can't use teams and who he scores against to not compare the 2. Right? Because if Josef can beat up on teams like that, Cucho deserves the same respect.
Cucho's played 3 games. You can't compare them.
Okay, when Josef scored 5 goals in 3 games, where Cucho now has 4 in 3 games in 90 minutes, really. At that point, he had almost 270 minutes. Everybody was talking about Josef being the real deal.
I'm not saying Cucho's not the real deal. I'm just saying
we deserve to give him that respect.
You're already comparing him to Josef. Josef's literally like Josef's already on like the all-time MLS leading scorers list. Cucho has played 90 minutes, like you said.
Okay.
The man has played 90 minutes. You're already comparing him to someone that's on the all-time scoring list.
Let me ask you then. Does at the end of his career, does Cucho Hernandez, if he stays long term, is he in the category of Josef Martinez?
I don't know. How can I say? He's played 3 games.
I say yes. Bold.
For one, I don't think he's staying the whole time.
I know he's out the door.
Yeah, 100%.
But what I really want to talk about this whole thing, we did the whole Cucho Hernandez thing last week. What I really want to talk about is the Miguel Berry transfer, right? Because we had talked about putting them up top together, right? Or, having one against the other. This move leaves the Columbus Crew without a real number 2. And that was kind of my worry when I saw that transfer was Miguel Berry out. Next guy off the bench is Eric Hurtado, okay. And then Russell Rowe, who is a 19-year-old. My worry was if he goes down with an injury, you're back to the Columbus Crew of old. You know what I mean?
What did they get for Barry again? What did Tommy Scoop say?
Tommy Scoop says
I see the tweet for Miguel Berry. Don't see the numbers. I could probably search it.
Sure. But anyways,
it's not public yet.
Do you think this was a good move getting Miguel Berry out?
Oh, it was $325K in GAM.
Okay.
Guaranteed $125K. 100K in 2023, an additional 100K for incentives. So 125K guaranteed. I would say 225K guaranteed and 100K possibly. What do I think about it? Definitely risky. I'd imagine they have something in mind, unless they are putting their eggs in the Eric Hurtado basket and just kind of hoping that Cucho doesn't get hurt. And that if he does, that Hurtado can just kind of step in and fill the gap enough. I'm not surprised that they got rid of Miguel Berry, honestly. I think that trying to find him on this list really quick. Is this last year? Oh, this is last year. Sorry, hold on one second. I'm trying to find his numbers for this year because he's been very quiet. Yeah, he has not had a strong season this year. So it's not surprising to see him out. They're clearly like going all in on Cucho. And maybe Miguel Berry was taking up like a big salary for their salary cap. Maybe that's why they dumped him. It's a little surprising though that they traded Zardes, I would think, with the thought of, oh, we're gonna go all in on Miguel Berry just for them to get Cucho and now go, okay, we're gonna get rid of the guy we went all in on. I guess I can't imagine Eric Hurtado is their like only backup plan. I don't think it would be smart to just go all in on Cucho and just have no backup plan because, like you said, if he gets hurt, that's troubling.
Right, and that's kind of my thought process. Is you have to assume somebody is ready to be the next guy up.
Maybe they can
or they have something in the works to bring in, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't need to be another game changer, right? It can very, very easily be a, not even a TAM level signing, just a free transfer out of,
could really be like a Kai Kamara.
Could be a Kai Kamara, right? A better, I mean, Eric Hurtado is kind of the Kai Kamara, 31 years, been in the league for a while, knows the game. Wouldn't be shocked to see a few more slide in there. Yeah, I do think it's a little bit more on the risky side.
I think they got something else in mind. I don't think this is like, oh, we're just trading all our strikers and just going all in with Cucho.
Yeah, no, there's got to be something in the back of the works, but what that is still to be seen. And I haven't heard any rumors about it, but it's a very, very interesting situation because he is so good, right? Cucho is fantastic. There is no question about it. Obviously, we've seen the numbers, but Columbus also have a terrible history of injuries to very important players. So where does that leave you, right? What does that leave you with, and how are you going to combat that? And that is the situation they need to figure out.
Yeah, no disagreements there.
My final question for you.
Yes.
We've seen what a very important mid-season transfer can do for teams. Seattle Sounders, with Nico Ladero being the best example. How far do the Columbus
Second place in the Eastern Conference.
How far do they go in, assuming they make the playoffs, how far do they go?
They're going to go far. They're going to go far. I mean, there's a reason I put this team second, and that was before they had gotten Cucho, because this team is super talented. They just have to stay healthy, which is obviously a big issue with this team. But if they are healthy, like I think they have been getting more healthy lately. This team is super good, and it shows because they are on currently at least 6 games unbeaten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games unbeaten right now. So this team is going to be tough to beat. I think, honestly, maybe this is a bold statement. I would say them or NYC have got the strongest, most deadly team in the Eastern Conference right now. And I think with Taty leaving, I think they have the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. Do I think that means they'll win MLS Cup? No, because MLS playoffs are always a guessing game. And
which
injuries.
Which is why they're not the most important cup in America. But go on.
It is the most important cup, at least until Atlanta wins the Supporter Shield. I really can't make a prediction on the playoffs, honestly. It's too hard. It's so unpredictable. But I will say that I think that they're going to climb up the Eastern Conference very quickly.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. I don't think there are many teams that have the center back ability to contain somebody like Cucho.
Plus, you have Zelarayan, who's literally MVP level.
Yeah, feeding him day after day after day.
Yeah, and Derek Etienne, who's improved drastically this year. Like this team, and Pedro Santos. I mean, this team is deadly. Darlington Nagby, like, come on.
I'm gonna make a very bold prediction here.
Are you about to tell me they're not making the playoffs? Because I will end the podcast right now.
The opposite.
Okay.
This move is on the same level as Nico Ladero. This move, assuming everybody stays healthy, gets them to, if not wins them, MLS Cup. The impact that an attacking player of this level and quality has on a team that is already surging in the right direction. You talked about 8 games unbeaten, right? Well, he's only been here 3. So now you take a team that's already getting into form, add one of the greatest strikers in the league already. I mean, just based off of pure performance over the last 3 games.
Let's just say hottest.
Assuming. No. The best. We're not mincing terms here.
I hate you. I made you lose your train of thought, and I'm very happy about that.
You're putting this team on a path to nothing but success, assuming everybody stays healthy. I'm going to say MLS Cup. That's what I'm going to say.
It's a big if, though. This team is so volatile with injuries, and the fact that they've had so many already. I mean, you could speak to it a bit more than I can in terms of like sports injuries, but I think usually once you injure something once, you're more susceptible to to injuries again. So that's a concern for me in terms of, if you're just talking talent, I don't disagree with you. Although I will say LAFC certainly want a word with that in terms of talent, but they're a little too unpredictable for me to say that they win cup.
I think you're a hater, but that's for lots of other reasons.
You call it how you see it.
One more thing we want to talk about today before we move on, or call it an episode. Like I said, short, easy one today, just quick chat. New look DC United, Wayne Rooney in. Taxi Fontas in. Ravel Morrison in. Miguel Berry.
Taxi Fontas came in like at the start of the season.
I know, but I'm talking about new, like completely new, right? Lots of movement in DC under Wayne Rooney, including Gressel out. Where is this going? What is he doing? What's Wayne in the front office doing?
They're backing him. That's certainly what they're doing. I mean, you don't bring in Ravel Morrison if you're not backing Wayne Rooney. That guy is only here because Wayne Rooney came here to coach, and because he played so well under Rooney when he was at Derby.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm not going to say so well because I don't follow Derby enough to really know that for sure. But
luckily, our friends at Transfer Market do. Let me take a look.
Or Corey, which sneak peek, we might be talking to him soon about this.
We do. We need to bring him back in and have a whole
for sure. We do. We need the inside scoop. What's to come? Because DC is definitely backing Wayne here. I wonder if it was his call at all about Gressel. I wonder if he came in and was like, "Yeah, I have an idea for right back already. Let's move on from Gressel."
Yeah, no, I
mean, that's a tough call to make, to be honest. In my opinion, Gressel is very tough to replace. I mean, he could play all over the field and he brings quality.
But here's the thing, right? Wayne Rooney looks at this team, a DC United side, right? Currently, 41 goals conceded, last place on pace for the Wooden Spoon last year. Missed out by conceding 54 goals. That is on pace with a Chicago team, Inter Miami, teams in that nature. 2020, don't really want to look too far into it, but conceded 41 goals in 21 games. Then you look at 2019, which I think is when they made the playoffs, and that was when they were at 38. The team for the last 3 seasons has been leaking goals. Julian Gressel, phenomenal attacking wingback. One of the best in the league, maybe one of the best in league history. I don't know enough about. We've talked about how the attacking wingback has developed and whatever, right? I think Wayne Rooney is focusing on a defensively sound team that he can then work forward to individual playmakers, right? So you got Taxi Fontas, you have Manuel Rodriguez, who just came in. You have Miguel Berry, who can provide a second option up top. And now you got Ravel Morrison. Ravel Morrison, 29 years of age, a Jamaican international. Currently, he was one of those English guys who made the switch over. Give you some stats here. 13 goals, 9 assists in the championship. However, in his last season, I believe he, again, we'll get more details on this if Corey stops by. Yeah, he was 4-4, 36 games to over 2,000 minutes. Wayne knows this guy better than anybody knows this guy. He revitalized what he could do. I'm very, very interested to see what he does when he comes in. There were rumors that Jesse Lingard also might have been on, or one or the other might have been on their way. I think this is a better transfer than Jesse Lingard. Wayne knows what he gets by bringing Morrison in. Wayne knows how to build around Ravel Morrison, what his strengths are and how he can succeed. And now he's got the backing of a board that's ready to give him complete help. I think Ravel Morrison comes in and is an absolute stud. Maybe not this season, right? The first half MLS adjustment, right? Where you bring somebody in mid-season usually needs half a season to adjust, and then he gets and hits the ground running. By next season, I think he's maybe, and this might be a stretch, top 5 attacking midfielder in the league.
Save it for your bold predictions, my friend. Save it for the bold predictions. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think you should also asterisk your statement on Morrison compared to Lingard, just by mentioning that. And I'm speaking on your behalf here because I think this is how you feel as well, that he's not a better player than Lingard. But when you have a salary cap in MLS, Morrison was the smarter move for the salary cap than going and breaking the bank to bring in Lingard.
So when I made that comment, it was less about ability and more about fit to the team.
Sure.
I think this is better.
And
yeah, this is better
money-wise.
for Wayne to bring in than bring Jesse in. That was kind of where I was going with that. So
I have a take. On.
I would love to hear your take. Actually, there's nothing I'd love more than to.
Okay, good. I'm glad, because I was going to tell you anyway whether you wanted to hear it or not. But my thinking is maybe you're right. Maybe he wants to just kind of revamp the back line. But I'm looking at the DC United team right now, and I'm not seeing a lot of value guys here. Maybe they traded Julian Gressel to raise some money so that Wayne can bring in the guys that he wants to bring in.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now, and I just don't see a lot of guys that would be able to garner much value within the league. Like, if I saw Russell Canals get a move right now, I'd be 100% convinced that they're just trying to rack up money so that Wayne can bring in the team he wants.
Sure.
That's kind of my thoughts on the Gressel trade.
Very much like, and I only go back because they're the greatest team in the league. Red Bull selling on Brian White over Tom Barlow, right? Brian White, clearly the better striker, clearly better potential, and a better ability. But Tom Barlow had no value in trade. And when they were trying to build up funds to bring in players like Muquinhas, for example, or make Carlos Cornell permanent, right? Now, again, that transfer was not directly for that move, but they knew what they were trying to do in the long run, right? You have to sell the players that have value, right? You're not going to go in and be like, okay, guys, John Kempen, time to send him on his way, right? He's your third string goalkeeper. He's not getting anything out of it. And you also want to hold enough capital, right? You're not going to send Moises Nyman out. You're not going to send Chris Durkin out. You're not sending Donovan Pines out, right? Those players are going to stick around because you need them to build, future value. So it's a tough one, tough decision you had to make, but it was the correct decision to make, I think. So one quick question before we move on, right? We'll talk about kind of what the shape would look like now with these moves in. There's also rumors, and I don't know what, before we do that they were also linked to, and again, I don't know the extent of this, but Tyler Miller from Minnesota was also linked to the DC sphere. So let's assume Tyler Miller comes in, right? You're looking at Tyler Miller, back for Brandon Heinzeke, Donovan Pines, Sammy Guedry, because Brad Smith is hurt all year, and either Andy Nahar or Chris Odiatson, right? So clearly, the outside wingbacks are a place of concern. They would need to work
you
on
don't
there.
like Andy Nahar?
Unless
they play him as a center back, which I think they did sometimes last year.
Right. He didn't. Again, I'm thinking about Wayne Rooney trying to solidify this back line, right? Andy Nahar, great going forward. I think he's a good defender too. I don't watch enough DC to know. One of these days, I'm going to actually get time and just sit and watch teams play. Then we're looking at a defensive mid set of Chris Durkin, Moses Nyman, with maybe Ravel Morrison in front of them. So that'd be your midfield three. Martin Rodriguez on one side.
No Russell Canals for you? You could say no.
Yeah. It's probably a rotation between the three of them. They've been subpar all season. So all spots are up.
Everybody's been, outside of Taxi, everybody's been subpar all season.
Correct. So everything's up for grabs except for these spots. Ravel Morrison in attacking mid with Martin Rodriguez on one side. Taxi up top. Or even what they could do is Taxi out wide with Ola Kamara up top. Not Ola Kamara, I'm sorry. Miguel Berry. Right, so you could do a three. Yeah, you could do a three there. So, because Taxi can play out on the wing if you need him to. Rodriguez can play left or right wing. And again, this is all transfer market. We'll see what Wayne does. His favorite formation, Derby. Last season, Wayne Rooney's favorite formation. You can do, we go to whoscored.com for this. Fill the air. What do you got? Thoughts?
My thoughts?
Yeah, your thoughts.
I got no idea. I didn't watch Derby.
No. What are your thoughts on some of the shapes? Would you replace anybody?
Hold on, let me go back to their roster again.
This is what you guys come here for.
Well,
3 minutes of dead air.
I'm cutting it out. Relax.
3 minutes of dead air.
Don't worry about it.
The video doesn't. Some of the videos get banged.
Nobody watches the YouTube.
No, YouTube bangs. Last episode got like 26 views.
Yeah, and our John Bush episode got 136. So like, also transfer market saying there's a rumor of Luis Suarez to DC United. Although I think I saw something recently that he's going to like Nacional or something.
Yeah, he just got confirmed there.
I don't think I would change anything. Honestly, team feels a little thin. I think they could use a little bit more depth. Just looking at the back line for sure. Yeah.
4-2-3-1 shape. So that's what you would look at in DC as well. So that my prediction was pretty spot on because I'm great at what I do.
I don't know. They don't have great winger options though. Unless I know you're talking about converting attackers to wingers.
Well,
but
we don't know what Martin Rodriguez brings. We know that Taxi can play out wide if he needs to, and that actually might be a better spot for him to create some chances. You don't know.
But then that's it. That's the winger depth. That's all the winger depth you got.
Oh, well, depth, yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not good. Yeah,
I'm just
Kamani
saying,
Smith
you two players that can play out on the wing. You're not like you're risking it playing with a winger formation.
Wayne Rooney isn't going to turn this around overnight. This is not
No, of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, this is not we're going to bring you in, give you X amount of money, sign 4 players that you know, and take us to the playoffs. This is a 4-year-long issue he has to fix. So I think Ravel Morrison's a good start. He needs to build off of that. And I think you'll see a much heavier English influence now that he's there. And I'll be very, very interested to see who's next, right? Do you see maybe some younger English kids coming over from, academies saying, hey, come play for Wayne Rooney, right? Think of some of the, the Man City kids that came over in the first year of NYC. Can you grab somebody from the Man City, Man United Academy or the Everton Academy, whatever, right? That'd be pretty interesting to see.
I mean, it's not like we haven't had that chance in the past, though. I mean, you could have said the same thing about England and be like, hey, come play for Patrick Vieira in NYC. Like, you can come live in New York City and play under Patrick Vieira. But like, how many Man City youth kids were they grabbing,
That's fair. I think more people would know Wayne Rooney, though, in England.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think plenty of people know who Patrick Vieira is.
I don't disagree, but right, it's a different type of pull. English kids grew up idolizing Wayne Rooney. Patrick Vieira was great, but nobody idolizes the holding mid.
I'm not an English kid, so I can't speak on behalf of anyone. Can't say.
We have room for one more.
I have a question for you. I think you'll like this question.
Fine.
What do you have to say to the people who criticize Wayne Rooney for turning down a potential job in England to come and coach for DC United?
Interesting. I think so. He actually addressed this himself, right? He goes, listen, everybody wants to coach in the Premier League. Everybody wants to coach a national team. But you have to earn your stripes. You have to learn your craft. This is a really good place to do that. And he's not wrong, right? In the same way that we are building players, right? We're taking youth players and teaching them their craft and selling them on. Coaches follow the same path, right? Jesse Marsch learned his path through Red Bull, right? He went over to Europe, learned it, implemented it back in the United States. People keep talking about how MLS is such a low-risk league. To a sense, they're not wrong, right? But because it's such a low-risk league, people like Wayne Rooney, Jesse Marsch, just on the coaching side of things, those people can come over, try their craft, fail, and it's okay, right? We don't have I want to think of the right word for this. We don't have the culture. The culture is the word that I'm looking for. The fan culture, where if you are a manager that's failing, our fans don't revolt. Right? Never once have I seen a team lose their mind because they were, terrible. It's kind of just like, haha, wow, we haven't scored a goal in 4 years.
Well, because there's always next year.
Right, because there's always next year. So this is a great place for him to learn what style he likes to play with a budget where he can go buy players, right? He couldn't do any of that at Derby. So now he's got a budget where he can buy players. He's got a system that will allow him to be experimental. He'll figure out what he likes to do, and then somebody will come approach him and say, hey, we like what you're doing. Right? If he can take DC from the bottom of the East, make them a playoff team in 2 years.
Not like he can make them worse,
Right, exactly. But if you can make them that success, okay, now you've shown that, right? And now I think about it. Think about Football Manager, right? Every time you apply for a job, it's like, oh, you don't have experience doing this or this or this. Well, now he's going to get that experience, and people are going to look for him. It's a very good move for him to have longevity in a career. Yes, if he wanted to go coach, be an assistant for Everton or even be a head coach at some other League One or Championship or League Two or whatever, the odds of him having a longer coaching career are much shorter than if he does what he's doing now, right? This is the low risk is going to allow him to be successful long term. I think it's a great.
It's a really good point that I never thought of before. Is
I
about
usually think of things you're not thinking of.
Did I ask for your intake there? No, I think it's a good point that I think a lot of people are glossing over when talking about this is the fact that he can come here, try stuff out as a coach, fail, and totally be fine. Because if he moves to, let's just say, like, I don't even think there were rumors with this, but let's just say he moves to like a Nottingham Forest or something, right? And he tries some new coaching stuff out, seeing as how this is like is only his second head coaching job, and he fails. Now this team goes right back down to the championship, and that's if he manages to keep his job for the full season.
Mhm.
Whereas he can come here to DC, a place that he's familiar with, already has really good value with the fans. He can come in here, try something out, fail, and guess what? They're still in the top league the next season. That's one of the benefits of not having pro rel. Not saying I'm not going to go down a whole pro rel conversation. Obviously, there's benefits, positives and negatives too. I know we can. We got 6 hours. There's positives and negatives to having and not having pro rel. But I think one of the positives from a coaching perspective is that you can try things out and not necessarily risk losing your job immediately. So I completely agree with you on that point. So I think I have no disagreements. I think it's a good move for him. A lot of other coaches have been, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's been a few other coaches that have come here, been successful, moved on. I mean, look at Patrick Vieira. He's coaching in the Premier League right now with Crystal Palace. He looked good too. And he got he started out here with NYC. So
correct. It's a great comparison, right? Comes in, I don't remember where he was before that. I think he was an assistant somewhere. Patrick Vieira coaching, right? But he didn't even make the full jump, right? Team managed, yeah. So he was a part of the development squad for Man City, then moved to NYC, then moved to Nice. He didn't even jump straight to the Premier League, right? He went to a lower top 5 league and was successful, and then made the jump back to the Premier League. You can't. Everybody thinks it's just like FIFA. I'm just going to click this button, and I'm going to go manage this team, and they're going to give me unlimited. It doesn't work that way. You have to be good at what you do, and I think this is a really good mindset to approach. It's a very mature mindset from a former player, I think.
Yeah.
You'll see players all the time look at, oh, look, I'm retired. I'm going to do this, buy all this stuff, get all this money, whatever, right? This is I need to have a career after football. I'm going to go and make sure that I can have the best career possible by practicing just like I have been as a player. I think it's great. I'm a big fan.
I want to use this guy as like an opposite example. And it sucks to talk about it because I think he's amazing. He's one of the best players ever for my favorite team. But go look at Frank Lampard and watch how he jumped from Derby straight to Chelsea. And it was clear that he was not ready for it. And now, because of that, he took a step down and he went to Everton in a relegation battle. Don't give me the look.
Excuse me?
Yeah. He was fighting relegation last season. It's going to be big to see how he does this season with Everton, but the short stint of Frank's coaching career so far has not been too great outside of a little bit of time at Derby where he got them into the playoffs. So I think this is the right move from Wayne Rooney to not jump at the opportunity to just go to the highest stature team and get the most like fame or try to get the most fame and glory like as soon as possible. He's taking his time. He's making sure that he like can establish himself as a good coach, practice what he needs to practice in terms of being a head coach. And then when he's ready, then he goes and moves for that Frank Lampard Chelsea-esque job.
Spoiler alert, Everton are winning the Prem.
Yeah, okay. You just lost 4-0 to Minnesota and you're going to tell me you're winning the Prem?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Have fun with that one.
Stop. I didn't mean the Prem. I meant the championship next year. Stop.
Oh yeah. I mean, in 2 years you'll win League One
Stop.
after you pull a Sunderland.
I don't need this.
But I do.
I think it's good. I think it's a good place to leave it there.
Oh yeah,
we could-
end on an Everton 4-0 loss to Minnesota. That's a great way to end it.
We could dive into the importance of preseason friendlies and that stuff, but that might be for another episode. But thank you everybody for listening to episode 36 of season 3 of the Designated Players Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. All of our waffling aside, make sure you go and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you know when we go live, and make sure you're following us on all forms of social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We post there pretty much every day, as much as I can help it. And we're pretty good at keeping up with it and interacting with you guys. So we're stuck on about 112 TikTok followers, which is where we need you guys to help us out. Go check us out. Just search the Designated Players Podcast. We'll pop up, you know, what our logo looks like, and go follow us and share it with people too, because we want everybody to know all of Connor's cold takes. But other than that, this has been another great episode of the Designated Players Podcast, and we will see you on the next one. See ya.